To continue right on with our program, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Bjoern Kempe. He worked for 5 years with the Cologne Trade Fair in Hong Kong, and then he went to Munich, where he has done a number of things, but of particular importance to us today is his position with CL China. And my understanding is that you're going to chat a little bit about CL as a case study. So if you will join me in a warm welcome to Dr. Kempe.
So not sure the micro is working, okay? So a good afternoon to everyone. So even though you can see a lot of food, but don't worry, I'm not talking about food today. I think everyone is pretty full after the lunch. I'm going to bring you through a case study that is pretty interesting because we have seen the morning, we have talked about exhibitors. So I think the session with Kathy and myself, we are looking on the soft side of the exhibition. We are looking at the visitor side. And before I go into CL, I'll give you a very brief introduction. Actually, CL everyone knows as a brand show, but actually the company, the organizer behind is Comexposium. So Comexposium is the largest exhibition organizer in France. We are having more than 100 events, more than 3 million visitors in France, and over 10,000 exhibitors. So everyone knows us pretty well in Europe, but in Asia, usually Comexposium is not very well known because our international activities are quite limited. So one of our big shows that actually make also Comexposium famous and abroad is the CL Group. You can see here we have actually 5 different CLs around the world. The big one is in Paris every 2 years. And then we are having 4 basically in each continent and targeting the regions. We are having the one in Canada between Montreal and Toronto for the last 13 years. We are having in the last 10 years a CL Mercosur that will be changed to a CL Brazil next year. The Middle East is running for 2 years now. We launched that show 2 years ago. And the one that I take you through today will be CL China. It is the oldest. It's in the 14th edition. We have started in Singapore a long time ago. We have gone to Beijing, that was 12 years ago, and then finally ended up in Shanghai and doing this show on an annual basis, always in May, in Shanghai, in Pudong. So this just gives you a very brief overview of the group. You see how many exhibitors we have for the whole group, how many visitors we have. Without going too deep for these figures, it is actually important for the whole group. Visitor marketing is one of the top priorities for the group to expand. We have had many cases that actually the exhibition side, the exhibitors are growing very well because of the symbol of the industry, of the market. But if the visitors are growing not as fast as the exhibitors, then the show really have a problem. And this is what we are facing right now, not only in Paris, but especially in China. We have annual growth, double-digit growth for the last 3 years, but our visitors are actually lagging behind. And I think maybe you, in Korea, you have a similar developments that you may grow very fast on the exhibitor side, but your international visitors may not grow as fast as your exhibitions. So I think this is really an honor for me to present this case study today. And Mr. Park, thank you very much for the invitation and to be here present at the exhibition forum. Fortunately, Korea was one of our guest country of honor this year, so I can share some pictures with you. From the exhibition, actually Korea is our largest exhibitor country beside the US. And our largest visitor country. So it's really very important. Whatever I say today, I think we can really do it vice versa, because in CL China we have a lot of Korean visitors, and I guess you in Korea, you attract a lot of Chinese buyers and Chinese visitors. So I think both, we really have a good interchange today. that we can learn from each other to see what we are doing and maybe what you are doing, and then we get together somehow. Let me take you through the situation that we faced. You can see the figures here. Our exhibitors' growth was on year to year 15%. The space grew by 25%. We had to have an additional hall. We basically doubled our international pavilions. But you can see the visitors, they had a problem. There was the only figure, fortunately it was positive, but it was the only figure that actually had a problem. We only grew by 9%. And actually this 9% behind was 3% domestic and around 25% international. And how we achieved this international visitors growth, I like to present today. Let's have a look, before we are going through the tools that we took, let's have a look at our visitor profile, because we learned from Barry this morning, we have to know the buyers very well and we have to know who's actually coming. And I thought that was really a problem when I started with the show. I was looking at it, who is actually coming? And who does the exhibitor want to see at the show? So you can see here the visitor profile for the last edition, that we had 24% of distributors, 20% retailers, 70% traders. So you can roughly say 60% were in the retail and trade, roughly, yeah, 60%. And then you can see we had 16% for hospitality industry, and we had 10% for wine trading and then others. But what was actually the situation on the exhibitor side, whenever I talked to them, whom you want to meet, they told me, oh, I want to meet hospitality people. I want people from HoReCa, from restaurant. They were actually not interested in my 60% supermarkets that I'm bringing. They were only interested in the 16% here in green, right? So that means the show somehow has a problem, although we have a growth, but I can foresee that something is not really right. So I have to adjust my visitor marketing to address these 16% to increase it. And another one is the wine trading. The CL in China, we have actually 25% of our show are wine exhibitors. But you can see here we only bring 10% of wine traders. So I would love to bring 25% of wine traders to the show, so which indicated another weakness of my show, that I really have to find more wine buyers in China to come to the show. Because if 25% are only looking at 10% of my visitors, then again, I face a problem at some stage. In terms of visitors department, you can see we were pretty satisfied, but the F&B service, it's another sector which is very close related with the hospitality industry. So by showing you these two visitor profiles, I suggest all of you to do this with all the different shows that you have and really show what is the exhibitor, what they want, and what's actually the profile of your show. And if you see this kind of gap that we discovered, then what you can do to close the gap. International visitors by regions, you can see, fortunately, Korea was the number one with 35%. So if I see this, that 35% of my international visitors are coming from Korea, that means I really have to do something in Korea, right? I cannot neglect the Korean market because it's so important for me in Korea. So what we do here, we do have press conferences, so whoever is from Seoul from you, I will be back in Seoul in 2 weeks. We basically have a press conference that is then purely on the commercial side of the show. Press conference is already one of the tools. It's a very traditional tool for visitor promotion, but it's pretty effective. And especially we found it in Korea very effective because we get all the industry leaders together. So that is something what we do. Unlike in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Japan, for all these 4 top markets, I travel personally there. We not only do online marketing, we really do, I'm really present there, we do press conferences, we do personal visits, because all these countries are very, very important. But if you look at the bottom, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, I think there's a lot of things to do for me. We really have to increase these countries. We are actually having different tools for different countries to really localize our visitor promotion, that we know, okay, we like to have more Singaporean companies. What can we do in Singapore? Are we going to another show? Are we just having another press conference? Are we doing something in online? So this is something that I will take you through the presentation. But again, it has to be taken into your consideration which countries you like to grow and which maybe regions are already very important for you. You can see also over there that Asia, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan are actually 60% of my international visitors. That Europe is then the number 3, North and South America and Oceania is coming behind. So if I target particular buyer groups for particular regions, what do I need to do to get these bars up to grow? I will tell you today. So the overall objective for the CIAL is actually not to grow in exhibition size, because the growth is really quite frightening sometimes, and I think it's just not because of us, it's because of the food industry is doing very well in China. So our objective is the consolidation and to increase the visitor quality and the visitor quantity at the show. Because if we achieve this, they will automatically, Barry mentioned this in the morning, people are looking for quality leads. Again, it's always a question, what is a quality lead? But okay, at least we are trying to bring them. And if we achieve this, then I think we will not have problem with the future growth of the exhibition. And also before I start now to bring you through the tools, what we did, we have discussed, I think, several years ago to encourage exhibitors to do visitor promotion. But I think I was really appreciating Barry's presentation this morning. The exhibitors expect this from us. And I have tested a couple of models with exhibitors, and the feedback was extremely low. So I can tell you, do not count on your exhibitors for the visitor promotion. I think your exhibitors are really, really busy. They do not have time to send emails around and to invite various clients to your exhibition. In some cases that may work, but in our case it has clearly failed. We only have 3% of our entire visitors that are through the exhibitors. So at the end of the presentation, I will show you a method that actually may help the exhibitors to become more active and to invite visitors for the show. So let's go through what we did. When I started, I had a database which was not moved for 3 years. It had 30,000 leads. For one, we have to go to every major show. We have to go to every major country. It will be very tiring for everyone, but we have to increase the database. So we managed within 1 year to increase the database from 35,000 leads to over 150,000 leads. Data doesn't mean you automatically have a lead, but at least you have a solid foundation. I think data, it doesn't matter if it's for online or offline marketing, is really something very important. We are working on the website. We have seen that we had a very high bounce rate, and I encourage all of you to really have a close look at your statistics, at your website statistics. If you have a very high bounce rate, it means 80% of your visitors, website visitors, are dropping out after 1 minute. That means your website has a problem. You know, we as organizers, we always think we have nice websites and we do everything, but it's the visitor that decides if we have a nice website or not. Yeah. So I think SNS, we started SNS. We had no experience with SNS before. I will show you how we did. And I'm glad that Kathy is today with us, and she will also go deeper into this topic. And then, of course, we do the traditional offline marketing, direct invitation, or as I said, with press conferences that really proved to be effective for the show. Now, let's see. Our monthly e-newsletters. Before, we had no regular timing for our e-news. Sometimes we send in the beginning of the month, sometimes at the end of the month, sometimes we skip a month. So I was the one, I said, well, if we like to have some consistency, I like to do it every second Tuesday in the month. So since then, we really have every second Tuesday in a month, there is a CL newsletter to utilize the data and also to clean up the data. Although we had 150,000 leads, you can see that delivered, you had 208,000 data actually, but we only had 154,000 delivered. Yeah? So which means 75%. 25% of our data were already useless. I suggest to all of you to do the same thing. You really need to have a very good database. If you do online marketing, if you do e-news mailings, you should have a look that should ensure that between 90 and 100% are really delivered. If the delivery rate is, let's say, below 70%, that means your database has a problem. It's maybe too old, it's outdated. So here in our case, you can see 75% have delivered, 14% have opened the email, and 3% actually clicked. And I consider that as a good result. Whatever, for me, if you reach 1% click-through rate, for me it's a good result, because these days all of us have a hell of emails. We have a lot of things in the email boxes. So if 1% of these people really take time to click through and will have a look at the website, I think that's a success. So you can see we are working together with WebPower. I don't want to make advertising for them, but of course you have, I think, in every country, you have beautiful email service providers that can do this job for you, or you can even do it in-house. So that is something very important to do. This is our website statistics. You can see the visitors, how they grew before the show. Yeah, you can see April we had 10%, and then just before the show we had 42% website traffic. Of course, we also increased it through a more frequent e-news. We had some telephone activities there. But basically, what we can learn from this, that people on Monday or Friday are particularly lazier than on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yeah, you can see those in the middle of the week, people actually have more visits to our website, and then you can see the low parts. There's a weekend. That means no one is looking at the website. So I think this is also in a report that everyone should look into it to really learn what time your people go, what time your visitors have a look at your website, what time of the day. Number two was we are at the moment we are doing a new website. The old website, we had a very, very high bounce rate of more than 80%. We have actually made this research on site, and the people were actually basically saying, well, we don't use your website. You know, we rely on agents to get our information. So that really means we had a problem with the website. So we do something now, something more sophisticated. And this website is not based on our research, on what we think is good. It's based on the exhibitors and the visitors. And you can see we have an exhibitor section and we have a visitor section. So very clear that as soon as people go to the page, they don't really have to look. They can immediately find where they have to go. For our current website, if you open today, you have to look, where is the visitor section, or where is the exhibitor section? So, and then people do not simply have time. So I think have a look at your bounce rate of the website, if that is good. It's really important for visitor promotion and to increase visitor online registrations. SNS. I think, as mentioned, Kathy will go deeper. I would just tell you what we started. We started to make groups. We engaged a PR agency who started for Facebook and for LinkedIn and also for Twitter. As all of you may know, these two of them, Twitter and Facebook, are actually blocked in China. So that means we had to get an outside PR agency that is doing this for us, because we can even not check it on a daily basis. But it proved to be pretty successful. You can see now the Facebook account has 14,800 monthly active users just within the first year of use. So for us, and we also felt that exhibitors are really happy to share more details in the Facebook rather than with us, because we keep asking them, can you share things with us for the visitors? and usually they don't. But here it works pretty well, and then if they post something to the group, it attracts people that are interested in the product, or reversely, it will attract visitors. I think if you are targeting Chinese visitors, that means you need to have Chinese SNS tools. Facebook and Twitter will not work if you want to do visitor marketing for Chinese. Most of you may know Weibo. Weibo is the Chinese Twitter. So I would suggest if you are targeting Chinese buyers, you have to open a Weibo account. And you really need to see what's going on maybe in a Sina blog. That is something really, really important if you like to attract mainland Chinese buyers. Of course, outside of the mainland, I think these three are pretty good to go. But there's other countries, also Japan, I think they have a different user. I think Yahoo, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty important in Japan. Yahoo is also pretty important in France, while the rest of, maybe in the US, but while the rest of the world is not working with Yahoo anymore. So you really need to look where you want to attract, and then you have to look what tools are in this country particular, and what tools are open for the buyers to use. Just give you a bit of Facebook graffiti, you see we post our own things, but basically we do have a lot of exhibitors that are posting product information. And I like to advise you, I think Kathy will also go deeper in this, I like to advise you, do not promote the show. I think no one wants to read about your show, everyone wants to read about the industry. So with industry reports, you get much more attraction for potential visitors than with show information. I think that is something very important. Of course, we also have our traditional communication tools, brochures. We actually segmented it to really target the buyers. You can see it's the first time what we did, we split the food and the wine because the wine buyer is really completely different than the food buyer. And I think in some of your shows you may face a similar thing, that you have maybe totally different buyer groups. And if you face this issue, then I would suggest you have to separate your visitor brochures. One visitor brochures cannot serve two purposes. So we simply split it, and all the wine buyers get wine promotions, and all the food buyers, they get food promotion. That is something what we do. Of course, you can see visitor guide, invitation card, flyers, show directories, show daily, press book, and so on and so on. That is something what I mentioned about the press conferences we do. And I think we are also getting more and more open for exhibition barters. A lot of you may think, we do not really want to get our competitor into the show. We do not want any other exhibition organizer to the show. But I have made the experience, if I have a stand in Jakarta, for instance, people do come to your stand and ask, and I'm more than happy to give an Indonesian food organizer a same stand in my exhibition, that he can attract Chinese buyers. I think we should not think, okay, competitor or not, I think it's really about cooperating or not. Of course, if it's the same show in Shanghai, then I will not do it. But I think if it's some kind of distance, geographical distance in between, then we can do this kind of thing. I think media partners are very important. I put here the Korean media partners for us. I think that is really, and amazingly, some exhibition organizers are not doing this well enough. You really, if you decide which country you want to be present, you have to be in the leading papers. I know that most of you are thinking to reduce traditional paper prints, but I would say from time to time a paper print is not bad as well, because especially we do this if there is a big show, for instance, in Singapore. We go in the papers in Singapore. We know everyone is reading the papers, and then they see the paper. It's actually a branding exercise. It's nothing to really get visitors. It's more about a branding exercise. So I think for branding, strong media coverage is good, and also to invite journalists is something good, and to have media barters is also something very important. And I think if you are particularly interested in Chinese media, they always want to have the non-worry package. They want to have the flight, and they want to have the booth, and they want to have the hotel. And then they're actually willing to do some articles in their magazines. So by doing all this, we had mentioned the database, we had mentioned the website, we had mentioned SNS. By doing all this, you can see the results here. We had increased the database, we had increased the website traffic, we increased the online pre-registrations, we increased the traffic through the SNS, we had more media coverage, and it resulted in a 25% international visitor growth. And CR China has not had any growth for international visitors since 2007. So what did this result taught me that we have to do actually more. That's just the beginning. We have done this for a year. So the next 2 slides will actually tell you what I'm planning, and I think that is good to have a discussion all together on what can be next. Now I put some very big names here on this slide, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to test everything. I'm really going to test everything. I really want to see what is good and what fails, and I think all of you should really take the risk and should really find the right mix for your exhibition between online and offline, and also test different tools and to see which one is more suitable for your exhibition. So I put ambush marketing. Ambush marketing is something really terrible to do because you basically go to your competitor, you put a big sign or you put some posters and you hope that these visitors from your competitor will go to yours. I did it just 3 weeks ago. I did it in Shanghai with my major competitor, FHC. I put a 7-meter board in front of the exhibition, and I had 150% more web traffic every day. And I had people to send me email, and I say, we never heard about your show, can you inform me? Again, it's not a nice thing to do, but it proved efficient for visitor promotion. You can imagine how Allward reacted. I don't want to encourage that. I think there are much more nicer ways to do it, but again, I will not do it again because it was also, you must really look to balance your brand with other brands, to be professional or not. So that just gives you some idea. Buyer invitation. We have just done this in Abu Dhabi. I think Korean government may be very positive to do this. Basically, what they do in Abu Dhabi, the UAE government gives invitations and pay the flights for big buyers from the neighboring countries, and I think that is really effective. So if you have support from your government, I think buyer invitations, targeted buyer invitations, there were only 100 or 150, that will really help. Lottery raffles, Barry and the Korean Exhibition Forum is doing that beautifully. And to tell you what, it really works. It really works. We do this for the visitor online registration. Let's say every 100 pre-registered visitors will get a prize, and we put the photo and the people on the website. It works. We do the same thing for exhibitors. This is what I said, how you can encourage exhibitors to bring more visitors. So what we do, or what we want to do, is actually we are giving the exhibitors a discount or even a preferred location if they can commit to bring 20 or 50 international visitors. And they get a special card, they get a code, and then let's see what they do with it. If they don't do anything, we can see that this number had maybe only 2 invited visitors, but there are others that maybe bring 80 people from other countries. So those people need a reward. You can think of different things. Either you give them a prize, but I think Barry mentioned people are interested in budget reduction. So we are focusing that. I think they are more than happy to get maybe the hotel rooms for free, or to get the electricity for free, or to get 5% for the next year booking. I think that is something to encourage them to bring international visitors. And then you will see they are getting more active. Then, exhibitor rewards, I just mentioned. VIP club cards, we know our buyers, so we give cards, and these cards are actually valid for all the SIAL around the world. I think it makes sense in a big network. For a smaller show, it may not be useful. You may think about it, but once you have this card, of course, they can enjoy better services and things like that. And then localize your SNS. This is what I mentioned. If you target China, if you target other countries, you really have to localize your SNS. Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter are just some of the global tools, but if you're going for particular countries, you have to look in what the people are using there to look at your. So as a result, I would say keep the balance, always mix, and I'm really happy that, again, that Kathy is after me because she would talk about the right mix. Have a budget. What do I mean with have a budget? A lot of exhibition organizers actually push more money into exhibitor promotion than into visitor promotion. I'm doing it the other way around. I reduced my exhibitor promotion and I'm pushing much more for visitor promotion. If your visitors are right, if your buyers are right, if you bring quality leads to the people that are there, both will grow. The exhibitors will grow and the visitors will grow because the exhibitors will be very happy and they will talk with others. And the visitors are also very happy and they will also talk with others. So we are putting and allocating in the next coming years more money into the visitor promotion. And just to give you an idea, what I introduced you today, the costs were around 200,000 euro. So it's not cheap. That's why I mean have a budget. Visitor promotion is nothing you should take easily. In visitor promotion, you should not take it cheap. It's really something expensive to do. But once it's done, I think the show will definitely benefit. Research, research, research. Barry also mentioned this, really know more about your exhibitor, know more about your visitors. Some people are not willing to fill in the forms, so it's good to have on-site interviews. It's good to really question them, or to have just after the show, throughout the year, to have some casual lunch or dinner with your exhibitors and really ask them what they want. So really grab all kinds of information and know your visitors. And I think once you know this and you use the right mix of the tools and you allocate the right budget, I think you will see that you will have an increase in your international visitors. That is, we are going to be in 2012. Who want to see the show? We are in May, 9 to 11, in Pudong. I think most of you have been there, so you're all welcome. And this is the email and the contact information. And maybe do we have a little time, Barry, for a movie? Okay, so then we play a little movie to show you how the show is. So I give some comments because we have basically, so this is our research.
We are here for our producers to sell more Portuguese wine to China, so we're looking for new business opportunities, and that's why we came.
Business people come to here, they're kind of looking for promising products. So yes, I think it's very good event. Definitely around like 10 to 15, maybe we're going to have a good promising partnership.
I would suggest all of you to do this kind of interviews during the show. You can use it for your own promotion, but you also learn a lot for yourself. What the people want, what they are looking for. That is something what we had from Roe. I think we have to be really creative for our visitors. We have to present good events and always happening things to really make the visitors also come back for the next year. I think you can have a choice between budget exhibition, don't do anything, but if you do something, do it right. And then you see we have a lot of demonstrations, cooking areas for the visitors.
It will be the #1 pavilion in Seattle. So each year we're going to try something.
South China is a very established food show in the world, and especially South China itself is a very prominent show in this part of the world.
I think the visitors have been very high level. We've had a variety of visitors coming from around China. So a lot of companies who are interested in importing and carrying American products for the first time.
He is organizing 1,200 square meter at CR China. So usually I sit 1 hour with him just to find out what is the quality, whom did he meet, what does he doesn't like, because his comments is really the on-site comments. It's first-hand.
We are here with 6 companies from Argentina to promote and to try to sell our most important beef that is Argentinian beef and offer here from Shanghai.
And the visitor, there's different kind. A manager of purchaser from supermarket, like we have Walmart, Chinese. I didn't remember the name. Chinese supermarket also, and there is other many distributor from Shanghai.
She didn't mention hotel and restaurants, so I know there is something wrong there. And this is what Korea did. You will have some pictures. Korea was guest country of honor, and they really did a very good job also to attract the visitors to their. A lot of discussions, events going on.
场馆就是面积挺大的，然后就是说展览的东西也很齐全，因为它有很多跟观众互动的环节嘛，有手势啊、摄影啊这样子的，就是可能了解的东西就不一样。
So thank you very much. I hope I could give you some very good ideas for visitor promotion to get more international visitors. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Questions? Your turn. This is after lunch, right?
Yes.
And we watched a food show. I have one quick question
Yes,
for
sir.
you. You mentioned that this year you're going to be spending more of your budget on a visitor promotion than on exhibitor promotion. Do you have a percentage for each? What would be a good percentage for us to think about?
Well, we used to have 65% exhibitor promotion and 35% visitor promotion. I'm reversing it right now. I'm pushing 65% of my marketing promotion budget into visitor promotion and 35% into exhibitor promotion. Just to give you an idea for the next event, we are having again 25% growth in exhibitors. If I don't deliver the visitors, the ratio is going down.
Of course.
That means at a certain point I will have a problem. So that's why I have to reverse my budgeting as well.
Good. I have one more. Anybody else have a question? I'm going to ask one.
Yes, I have a question here. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. This is after lunch, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes. You invite lots of foreign country, and also, don't you have any problem to invite foreign country to come to China in case in Korea? So you focused on Asian market, right? In your the PT, and lots of the Asian country is a developing country. So it is hard to come to Korea. So they need a visa. It's the same case. What about in China? So any problem to invite foreign country to China? So how do you solve this problem?
I think visa is a big issue. Yes, you're absolutely right. Especially in China, we have 20 countries that are actually on the blacklist. They don't even get a visa, even if they want to come. Yeah. Pakistan is one of the case. Indonesia is very difficult to get visas for China. So we are constantly in discussion with the authorities. When we do international marketing, of course, it doesn't make sense to target countries that we know will have problem with the visa. So we are targeting countries that we know it's more easy to get a visa. And we give them all kinds of support. We give them the visitor promotion. Actually, for us, starts 6 months before the show. Starts right now in this month, because we know people plan their trips, people want to book the flight ticket, and people have to maybe take 4 or 8 weeks just to get a Chinese visa in some countries. So I would also, it's a very good question, to avoid this problem and to target this, I would suggest all of you to really start visitor promotion as early as possible. And I think 6 months is a good thing to go. You can start in America, for instance. Asian countries, maybe they just plan 3 or 4 months ahead. And really look at the immigration law in Korea, which countries is more easier to come. I think maybe Singaporean and Hong Kong are easier to get in than other countries. So focus on these people, you know, that you know have less challenge. And they are good buyers, basically. Yeah.
Excellent. If there are any other questions, I also would like to encourage you to ask questions in Korean. We have translation.
Yes.
So please don't hesitate. Questions? Yes, right here. Could you bring the microphone right here?
동시 통역이 제공되니까요. 우리말로 편안하게 질문하시기 바랍니다.
I'm curious to know that when you choose Shanghai to organize your show in Shanghai, there are so many exhibition centers in Shanghai. And how do you choose which one is most suitable for you? I'm asking this question because so far, today's session, we are talking all about the show organizer, how to attract exhibitors or visitors. But how is the exhibition center when they are trying to attract show organizer to their exhibition center to exhibit? How do they? What can they do to do this?
Okay, I also think. Thank you. I think it's a very important question. I think. Especially in Shanghai, as you correctly mentioned, we have 5 venues. We choose Pudong several reasons. It's the latest. It has the best infrastructure, and in terms of international, it really compare with international standard. Although they have new one for the World Expo, but it's a little bit limited in size, and it's also multi-level. So in Shanghai, everything is on the ground floor, which is really suitable for everyone. And as you may know, they want to build another very big one in 2014 in Hongqiao. So in terms of venue competition, I think there's a big venue competition, absolutely. And exhibitors and visitors, they always, I think they look by, we look by price, we look by infrastructure, we look by service, and we look by accessibility. And I think Pudong is very well, can be accessed quite well. Has really enough space to grow. But I like to encourage all of you that are maybe in other cities and venues from other cities. We are actually, as CI China, we are getting increasingly competitions from other cities in China, not necessarily from Shanghai. We are getting now Sugar and Wine in Chengdu. Chengdu has a very good exhibition center. We are getting as a competitor the Guangzhou Autumn Show, Autumn and Spring Fair. They are increasingly doing food promotions, and also Beijing. So I think they are targeting international visitors. They are saying, okay, come over, for instance, in Chengdu to see the panda bears, to see the Green Mountains. Shanghai is polluted. So, we have to fight also with those arguments. And I think Shanghai, fortunately, has a good argument. It's a very commercial city, and it's good for a city trip. It's good to see, to have a show, and maybe one day after to do some shopping there. It's totally different than Beijing, which is very traditional, which has a lot more sightseeing to do than in Shanghai. We are trying to put emphasis on this good location and also on the commercial aspect of the city.
Anything else? Yes, we have another question right in the middle.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to know if there any big difference from attracting Chinese visitors from international one. Especially, I want to know how do you attract the huge market of Chinese visitors to your show? Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually, to be honest with you, I would say it's 80% totally different to get a Chinese buyer than to get an international buyer. Although Chinese spend a lot of time on the internet, but actually they're really for exhibitor promotion, for visitor promotion, they like to hold something in hand. So in China, we work a lot still on the traditional way. We do a personal invitation, personal letters, to encourage them to come. So I think traditional tools work in China still very well. On the modern side, I think Sina blog, what I mentioned, and also Weibo is very important. So you need to have a Chinese person in your office to really blog in Chinese. Or you have to have someone in China, a PR agency, who does this job for you in China. And then it depends on your sector. There are so many newspapers and trade papers. I think this is a lot of industry people, they are really reading. The problem is the media itself. When you make an invitation, actually goes with money. So you really have to give financial incentives, not only to place an advertising, but also to invite the journalist. If you know that's the leading paper in China, you really need to make a lot of lobby work with the media. And I think it's very, very difficult to get even into radio and TV. It's almost impossible. You can only get into radio and TV if you have a good government support. But of course, TV, Chinese are very TV, they love TV. So once you reach the TV level, then this is definitely a granted success. If you want to put it more on low budget, I would suggest you direct invitations and doing something in Sina and in Weibo. And to keep very close relation with, let's say, 5 or 10 journalists in China for the leading trade newspapers.
Excellent. Good.
Thank you very much. Again,
my pleasure.
Thank you.
You. Thank you so much. What I really liked as I was listening to Bjoern speak was what you were saying was so much in tune with what we're here to learn about today, which is innovation. And what we need is just good practical advice. And I think that you gave us lots of that. And then the one thing that I picked up on, which I thought was so valuable, which was what you said was everything's worth trying at least once. Not everything's going to work. So there's no absolute guarantee that this great idea is going to produce results. You never know until you try. So for that one bit of advice alone, plus all the rest you gave us, thank you so much. Thank you.